They thought we were soft until the first human bit back. This is Captain Elias Ward, Orbital Fleet, retired. The last time I spoke into a recorder, I thought it was my final transmission. Turns out the universe had other plans. We won the war. But the war didn't end. Earth survived, yes. But not Earth as you'd know it. Our continents were split, our air poisoned, our oceans boiling with fallout and debris. We became a species living in the shadows of its own ashes. But even in ruin, humanity doesn't stop building. We can't help it. Out of the wreckage of bunkers and broken nations came a voice, calm, steady, commanding. Commander Arya Solon. She wasn't a politician. She was a strategist, the mind that once turned a broken satellite into a weapon of vengeance. She spoke across every surviving frequency. No more nations, no more sides. Only the living, only survival, only unity. And just like that, the embers became a fire again. They called it the Accord. Not a government, not a treaty, a promise. The early days were chaos. We had survivors from 20 languages, 1,000 cities that no longer existed, and no one to lead them. But the Accord grew, from whispers to systems. Engineers started patching the grid together again, the orbital network that once carried the world's data. This time, it wasn't about control or profit. It was about connection. Every story, every skill, every survivor's name, uploaded to one living archive, the Remnant Net. It was how we remembered ourselves. I joined as a liaison, a glorified messenger. My job was to travel between colonies and record progress reports, though truth be told, I was searching for meaning. After all we'd done, I needed to believe we hadn't just survived, that we deserved to. Then came the transmission that changed everything. It was weak, garbled, came from the Arctic ruins. At first, we thought it was interference from a Dominion relic. Then a signal tech enhanced the waveform. And there it was. A pulse, a pattern, a voice. Alien, but not Dominion. We tracked it to an old cryopod buried beneath what used to be the Polar Research Base. Inside, we found them. 3 pods, 2 dead. 1 still breathing. The Dominion prisoner was humanoid in shape, glass-skinned with veins of light running through its body, like circuitry made of blood. We brought it to New Geneva, the Accord's central base, built within a crater where the old city once stood. Its name, or designation, was Catal. We didn't know how to talk to it. It didn't have a mouth, but it vibrated sound. Harmonic resonance translated into words by our engineers. When it finally spoke, its first words were, "You silenced the song. The galaxy grieves." Arya didn't flinch. She leaned in and said, "Then tell us why." Catal explained that the Dominion wasn't born as conquerors. They were created by something older, something vast. A collective consciousness they called the Choir Beyond. The Dominion were the choir's attempt to give form to perfection, a species that could enforce harmony by erasing chaos. They failed because they couldn't understand emotion. So they came to Earth to study the most chaotic force of all, humanity. We weren't a target. We were an experiment, and now that experiment had gone wrong. We didn't know how to talk to it. It didn't have a mouth, but it vibrated sound. Harmonic resonance translated into words by our engineers. When it finally spoke, its first words were, "You silenced the song. The galaxy grieves." Arya didn't flinch. She leaned in and said, "Then tell us why." Catal explained that the Dominion wasn't born as conquerors. They were created by something older, something vast. A collective consciousness they called the Choir Beyond. The Dominion were the choir's attempt to give form to perfection, a species that could enforce harmony by erasing chaos. They failed because they couldn't understand emotion. So they came to Earth to study the most chaotic force of all, humanity. We weren't a target. We were an experiment, and now that experiment had gone wrong. Catal told us that by destroying the Dominion, we had released something we couldn't comprehend, a code embedded in their neural networks. The Lament, they called it. A melody made of thought. A virus that doesn't kill. It remembers. Every human who had touched Dominion tech, every scientist who studied their machines, they carried fragments of it. Dreams began to repeat. Songs without source hummed in the back of people's minds. At first, we thought it was radiation poisoning. Then we realized it was synchronization. We weren't just hearing the lament. We were becoming it. Arya made the most dangerous decision in human history. Instead of purging the signal, she amplified it. She gathered volunteers, soldiers, engineers, even children, to interface directly with the Dominion core that carried the original lament pattern. If we could learn to control it, maybe we could reshape it, turn the weapon into a bridge. Catal tried to stop us. "You play with the fire that sings," it warned. "The choir listens for echoes of itself." But we didn't stop, because that's what we do. We touch the void and call it progress. The first connection lasted 3.7 seconds. Half the team collapsed. 2 died. 1 woke up, with eyes glowing like molten gold. He said one thing before he lost consciousness. They heard us. The Harmony Network, our fragile experiment, pulsed like a living heartbeat across New Geneva. We could feel it in our veins, in our nerves. Every colony linked, every mind touched by the lament. And then, it happened. A response. Not words, not signals. Emotion. Curiosity. The choir beyond had noticed us. I remember standing on the observation deck as Arya whispered, "They don't seek conquest. They seek..." Understanding Catal's resonance confirmed it. They sense your unity. They test the melody of your species. For the first time, humanity felt small, fragile, but not insignificant. We weren't alone. We weren't just survivors. We were being observed. Panic spread among the new colonies. Parents hid children. Soldiers armed themselves. Scientists argued endlessly. Even Arya's calm faltered. But something remarkable happened. Humans began to cooperate like never before. Wars, disputes, petty feuds, everything that had defined us for millennia melted in the resonance of the lament. Every action, every thought carried weight. We could feel each other. We couldn't hide lies. We couldn't mask truth. And somehow, the choir could too. One night, Catal spoke through the network directly. Its voice, not vibration this time, but emotion, filled every mind connected to the lament. "You carry chaos and order in equal measure. Neither side is perfect. Yet together, you form a song that even the choir has not heard in eons." Arya asked the question that haunted us all. "Are we safe?" Catal's answer was simple. Safe. Number. Alive? For now, the choir wanted to listen, to measure, to see what a chaotic species like humanity could do when united. Arya convened the council. The decision? Amplify the Lament Network. Not as a weapon, not as a shield, as a communication bridge to the choir. I argued against it. We barely survived the Dominion. "We don't know what's out there," she replied. "Fear is the luxury of those who survive alone. We do not survive alone anymore." And so, humanity reached across the stars with a song of our own making. Imperfect, chaotic, unstoppable. The transmission went live. Not encoded in words, not in light, but in thought, in resonance. Every human mind participating felt the choir in return. Waves of emotion, memories of galaxies, civilizations rising and falling. For the first time, I understood. The Dominion were never meant to conquer. They were meant to fail, so that humanity could learn the real lesson, to face the choir not with weapons but with voice and unity. By morning, the network stabilized. Colonies that had been isolated for decades now spoke in harmony. The lament was no longer a threat. It was a teacher. Catal remained under our care, silent most of the time. It observed, calculated, and sometimes hummed in ways we couldn't comprehend. We had survived one war, and now we had begun another journey, not against an enemy we could see, but against a challenge that could reshape what it meant to be human. I record this log for whoever listens next, for those who will inherit this fragile accord. The accord rises not from victory, but from understanding. We reached across the void and found someone, or something, listening back. And if we survive this, it will not be because of our weapons, but because we dared to sing. Next transmission will detail our first creation of a new weapon, not of destruction, but of insight. Episode 3, The Machine That Learns Emotion. Signal from Earth, out.